Today you're going to be learning how to make this cute baby girl's dress, and there's a free pattern included as well. So today I'm going to be doing a sew along of a little baby girl dress. I usually do women's wear, but today I decided to do a little girl's dress because I've been feeling really inspired by children's wear designs. So I've created this pattern, and this is free to download on my website. I'll leave the link in the description so that you can download the pattern as well. You could just print it out as a PDF and then you tape together at the points that are on the PDF. Print out the pattern on A4 paper to scale. Now you can follow along with me step by step. First thing, I'm going to be cutting 4 of these. You can either choose to do 2 on the fold for the front and the back, or you can choose to cut it into 4 and do it in alternate different parts of fabrics, and that could look really fun. So I've just pinned it down and I'm just going to start cutting. And there you have it, your first piece cut. So what you will end up with is 4 pieces. You can do this in alternate fabrics, but actually I decided to keep it in all the same fabric, but it's up to you, whichever you decide to do. I wanted to show you that I have actually cut on both sides, so make sure that you cut on the opposite side as well, so that you have 2 sides that repeat like this. Because what you don't want to end up with is all of them being cut on the same side and then they won't match up with each other. So you don't want to end up with 4 pieces that are all cut the same way, because they won't match up like this. So you want to place your pattern the right way up, and then you'd want to flip it over and put it this way and then cut it out, so that you'll have 2 mirrors, and this will form the front and the back of your pattern. So this is how the little dress is going to look, and you're going to stitch these 2 together for the middle, and for the back we're going to leave it open and we're going to put a zip in there. At the side seams you want to attach it side seam to side seam, and the only opening will be the back, and then we'll finish off the neck and the shoulder seams together. So the first thing I'm going to do now is attach the 2 front pieces. So let's get rid of everything else for now, not to confuse ourselves. We're going to bring the 2 pieces together. These are the 2 pieces. The seam will be in the middle, and it will look like that when it's finished. So what we're going to do is we're going to put right side to right side, and you want to straight stitch 1 centimeter seam allowance down the center front of the dress, and you would finish it off with a zigzag stitch or an overlocker machine if you have one. If you don't have an overlocker machine, a zigzag stitch will do the trick. I'll be using a zigzag stitch because my overlocker is broken at the moment, which is so sad. But anyway, zigzag stitch looks just as nice, and we're going to finish the dress like that. So let's hop on over to the sewing machine. So we have the 2 front pieces together, and we're going to do a straight stitch. So make sure that you back stitch before you make the seam. Now we're adding a zigzag stitch next to the straight seam so that it can finish the edges. We're going to cut away the raw edges, and the zigzag stitch will stop the fabric from fraying. You can't just leave it with a straight stitch, otherwise it can fray. So you use the zigzag stitch or an overlocker machine. So now we've basically stitched the front and the front piece together. So the front has a front seam. If you decide to cut it on the fold, you can skip this step. But if you are using alternate fabrics, then you will need to do this. I was planning on using alternate fabrics, but then in the end I decided not to. I decided that I'm going to have it all in one fabric, and I'm going to do some applique designs on it instead, which will be really nice. You can do that to add some extra, make it a little bit more special, and it can look really cute and sweet and something really unique that no other baby has. So I've done the zigzag stitch along this line here. So what I'm going to do now is cut off the excess. Now the zigzag stitch, make sure that the fabric is not going to fray or undo or come out, and it's going to look really beautiful, because you want these clothes to be finished with pride, and you want them to be very special for your little girl. What's even better is if you can do an overlock stitch, or even if you do a French seam as well, so that you can't see any of the edges inside. But anything that looks really pretty. I mean, it looks neat and it's finished, which is the most important part. So as I said before, I'm going to be doing some applique designs. I'm actually going to be doing reverse applique on this, which is normally what normal applique is what you would do if you cut out a shape and you stitch directly onto the fabric. Now reverse applique is that you stitch the fabric underneath and then you cut it away on the outside so that you can see the underneath fabric here. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing a little applique design and make it look really, really sweet. So I'm just going to cut out some strips and position them in a way that will look really nice. And I think it's really nice to have different designs and making things look really special, because it's something that you can feel really proud of when your daughter or your child is wearing this. I think that I'm going to be adding this fabric and this one as well. I'm just thinking about where I want my design to be. So if you decide to do the reverse applique, you layer on how many pieces of fabrics that you want to show through and you pin them in place. And now we're going to take this to the sewing machine. So what you're going to do is you're going to do a zigzag stitch and create a little pattern on the fabric and make it as random as you need to. So now you'll end up with a little pattern on the back of your dress. This is on the inside. So we're going to cut around the excess pieces that we don't need, which are not stitched on, and just basically cut those pieces off. This is all the excess that we don't need that we're cutting away now. You have to be careful not to cut the dress. So once you've cut away all the excess, now you can start cutting out your design on the front side of the dress. So you pinch it from both sides. So from the bottom you pinch the fabric so you don't accidentally cut through the bottom layer. You pinch the top layers that you want to cut through and you make a small hole. And this is where you start cutting. And you just cut within the shape that you've just stitched out. And this will reveal a beautiful design underneath. And try to get it as close to the zigzag line as possible. So try and do this with a pair of small scissors. So once you finish the front applique design, it should look a little bit like this. You should have like your patterns you've cut through, and you can see the different colors, which is really, really cute. And I really love this technique. It's probably one of my favorite techniques to do because it can bring a really cute design, and you can see some more of the floral pattern from the other design underneath, and then some of the denim, and then some of the yellow as well, which is really, really beautiful. So now we're going to move on to sewing the sides. We're going to sew the side seams, so we're going to put it right side to right side. And we're going to do a 1 centimeter seam allowance straight seam along here with the zigzag stitch finish. We're also going to stitch the shoulder seams as well here, and that is the back. So on back, I've just stitched the front and the back pieces together, right side to right side, so they're underneath like that. And I'm just going to cut the seams away where I've done the zigzag stitch. So now you have your front and back piece all attached, and all your pieces are all attached. You have them all together. So now what you want to do is that you want to do a little stitch to put the back pieces together. But before we do that, we need to measure our zip up against our dress. So I've got this zip here. It's blue because the dress is navy, and I'm just going to quickly measure it. I'm measuring it from here because you don't stitch these top pieces on. So my zip is about, it's 26 centimeters, but I'm going to say it's 25 because we don't sew all the way down to the metal bit at the end. We leave that tucked in. So 25 centimeters. So let me measure that on this dress. So 25 centimeters is about here. I'm going to go a little bit above that because I want some of the zip inside of the dress. So about 24 centimeters. So this is how far up I need to stitch the seam for the back of the dress. The rest of it I'm going to hem like this, fold over and hem, so it's ready to be attached to the zip. Right, so now that I'm back, oh, where am I? I'm lost. Okay, yeah. Now that we're back, we should have the back part of the dress stitched together, and we should have the opening of the back hemmed, and this is the inside of the fabric and that's the outside. So let's pull the dress out the right way round so that we can have an idea of how it's going to look. So that's the front of the dress, and then we have the back here like that. Let's iron the seams flat. And also the opposite side as well. Now that we've ironed it flat, we can start attaching the zip. So we want to take the zip and you want to place it on this side. And you will stitch it right side of the zip to the right side of the fabric. And when you turn it out the right way around, the zip will be this way. Okay, so make sure that you stitch this way, right side to right side for the zip, and you're going to stitch on this side with the zipper foot. Now let's head on over to the machine and see how it's done. So this is what your finished dress should look like. Should be finished at the front and at the back with your little zipper in the back. So it's really easy for you to put your baby inside. And it's just almost finished. All you need to do is finish the edges. So we're going to finish the hem, the armholes and the neck holes with bias binding. We will pin the bias binding. So you want to start pinning your bias binding around the edges so that it's easy for you to stitch on. So you just pin it on like this, and it's sandwiched in between the two pieces, so it means that it gets stitched inside and it covers the edge. So you have to make sure that you keep the bias binding on top of the fabric so that the two pieces get stitched inside. This finishes the raw edges because it means that it can't fray. You've got to slowly ease it around. Now this clip is sped up a bit, so it looks like I'm going fast, but I'm actually going very slowly. I'm using a zigzag stitch, but you can use a straight stitch, it's up to you. Once you come to the end of the bias binding, you clip it and then you stitch it to close it. So this is the end result. You should have a really cute baby girl dress for your little girl, and you should feel proud of what you've made. You've made something so beautiful. Now if you've enjoyed this course, don't forget to leave a review. It really helps me out a lot. And thank you. Bye. Happy sewing. And don't forget to visit the chantellefashion website for more sewing tutorials.